Alright boys, welcome back to the PGL Champions of the Storm at DreamHack Bucharest. We are ready. We had a good night's sleep after yesterday's delays. #blame Blackscope. It was a fun day. Team Liquid in the finals, of course. They completely wrecked everybody.
They did. They didn't drop a single map yesterday.
And, well, of course, today, after we saw a very exciting series between SK and Fnatic, once again, as usual.
Down to the wire.
Exactly.
Every single time.
In the last game, then a few decisions on the side of Fnatic, and suddenly, bam, SK takes it. Advances and faces now, again, Gamers 2, a team that they already met early on yesterday. And let's just say that didn't really go all too well for them. So Aragi sat down yesterday and he said, like, all right, boys, the entire time I was sitting behind them.
Yeah.
I have my notes with me. We actually didn't see those notes, so it could have been a lie.
I did see him too. I saw him. I didn't see his notes. I saw a picture of him taking the notes. He stole a chair from somewhere, put it the other side of the fence, and just sat there with a notepad behind Gamers 2.
All right. So the research is on. The analysis of the team is already on the case. He's a little bit like Nick Hotz with that when he was chasing Viewbotters. It's the same thing, just in Heroes. So we are going to see how Aragi prepares for that.
Yep.
And this is going to be fun. And we already have the maps, and we're also ready, or will be ready in just a bit with the draft.
Okay, well, let's have a quick look at the bracket while Caldot gets that draft link set up. So we can see exactly how we are set up. Team Liquid already in the grand final, and we are at the little bottom of your screen there. SK Gaming versus Gamers 2. They already played, like Caldot said, in match A. They are now fighting for that spot in the finals to play against Team Liquid. So, going to be very exciting. Let's have a look at the quick look at the team rosters, so that we can tell you about the players we're going to be seeing. Starting off with SK. And SK, some pretty cool players. One of the two teams who actually brought an American with them today. We actually saw the battle of the American player teams yesterday with Fnatic versus SK. But bringing in Aragi, we talked about him earlier, taking many notes, calling the shots as well, doing a very good job. Snitch, very versatile player from the UK. Bakery, the main ranged assassin player for SK, bringing out the Uther yesterday, the almost complete opposite of a ranged assassin.
Exactly. So he played Uther and he played him well, and they were able to take the game. So it was actually like pretty cool to see that. So Bakery stepping it up. And they have to do that as a team today against Gamers 2, because the Polish team, they are just simply amazing.
Yeah, and we also have Rave on the support, who managed to confuse us all due to the fact that one of the players on one of the teams actually got locked out of his account.
Yeah.
So Rave lent him his account. However, Rave also has 2 accounts, and we believe that his other account was his main up until today, or up until a couple days ago. So it's the person with 2 names was lending his account to another person. It was very confusing, but this is his main account he'll be playing on.
To me, it's like super interesting that you play this game for like roughly a year. You are being casted several times. Everybody calls you Kumato Boss because that's the account that you use. And you never bother to explain to anybody that your actual nickname is Rave. The fun thing is, he had his new account, like his main account already, then at some point, and was starting to use them in games. And even Aragi, like the teammate, asked, is it okay if he uses that account, or should he use the other one? And of course, all the casters were like, why would I cast him with his Smurf account? Like, get your main account in here. It's so confusing to the viewers. And they were like, all right, he's going to get his main account. And the entire time...
For quite a while, I thought it was a different person. And I was like, why is Kumato Boss being kicked out for Ray? I was so confused.
Yeah, communication needs to improve a bit on that part. But now we know that he is actually playing with Rave. We're waiting for the draft link currently. I can already run down the maps here for you boys. We have Garden of Terror going to be map number 1. Blackheart and Sky Temple are going to follow this up. And if we need more than 3, Dragonshire and Cursed Hollow are going to be the last maps.
Yep, and let's have a look at the other team here. You mentioned earlier the Polish team coming in. It is Gamers 2. One of the only teams with a full national roster. Liquid are close, but they have an infiltrator from France, which ruins their all-Spanish lineup. But full team from Poland here. We have found out that we've been pronouncing at least one of their names wrong up until today.
Oh no, I knew that the entire time, but like I didn't bother at some point anymore. I was like trying and trying and trying, it never worked out, but I was like, okay, when I'm at DreamHack Bucharest, I'm going to ask him in person, because everybody tells me something different. They told me, I tried, I apparently still failed, even though I still...
Right now.
Shihu. And I say this is exactly the pronunciation, and I told them to their face 5 times that nickname. They every single time said it was wrong. Then they told me the right pronunciation, which sounded exactly the same. It was exactly what I said. So I was like, yeah, I just failed with that name.
Yeah, we also have ADRD coming in. Leo from Korea, who's from Poland. Yep. Wonderful player,
surprise.
Great support. Long-time player in the scene as well, one of the longest-running ones. Nika coming in, Zhaoe, and like we said, Zichu.
That's also interesting, by the way. Java is not pronounced Java, he's pronounced Juve.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So I've been
there is an
pronouncing that
O
one
in
wrong
there,
too.
but it's actually a U, so he's
Okay.
Juve. And yeah, it's very interesting. Like, the Polish language is quite beautiful, and in that case, like, there are a couple of sounds in there that an O becomes a U. Apparently, there's supposed to be like one of these letter thingies, like one of these special letters, apparently. So that doesn't really work with the normal keyboard, and therefore that's why he's like that. At least that's what somebody explained me. I was probably lied to.
Probably.
Yeah.
We've probably just been told the incorrect pronunciations
Exactly.
for everyone. Like, I expected you, like, you were going around everyone just making sure, just like, how do you say your name right now? And I expected you to go up to Nika, for example, and he just like, how do you pronounce your name? Nika, or something like that. Just absolute troll.
At some point, I actually just said, like, okay, Shihu, we're going to like call you Bob from now on. The casters and I, we had a talk, and we agreed that your nickname sucks. You're going to be Bob from now on. I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. You're going to be Bob.
It's out of our hands. We decided this, but it's completely out of our hands.
Just think about that if that actually happens. If you sit down with the rest of the cast and everybody is like, yeah,
Everyone
I
makes
hate
a
that nickname
vote.
too, and we're like agreeing on calling him Bob, and from that point on, nobody calls him by his nickname anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody is just like casting, oh, and Bob does that, and they're like
Yeah.
all going like, what the hell? That
And
would be-
eventually he changes his nickname, and then
Exactly.
everyone immediately starts calling him by his actual username.
We should do that. We got the power there. Yeah, we have the draft actually ready, and this looks like SK needs to ready up, and I think they're currently about to do that. So, yep.
I am just reminding them too.
Yeah, so as I said, Garden of Terror is going to be the first map. We have a best of 5. Since there was also a bit of confusion about how exactly this day is going to end, we have a best of 5 in the grand final after the series, and the grand final is going to take place on the main stage. It will still be on the same stream that you're watching right now, but there is probably going to be a longer break since we will have to wait for the League of Legends final to finish. So after the League of Legends final is done, we'll move with Heroes of the Storm to the main stage and going to cast the grand final there, but it will be on the same stream. So after the match between Gamers 2 and SK is over, you can leave the stream on, take a break, and yeah.
Yep, you guys don't need to go anywhere. We need to uproot ourselves from our lovely little casting room and, well, make our way to the other side of the window next to me, actually. It's not too far.
Yeah, we didn't actually know that, so...
Yeah, we
knew
like,
there's something.
There's something behind the curtain. It gets quite loud sometimes because the main stage music was coming through, but we didn't know where around we were. And then we were just taken around backstage, and it was like, oh, it's the door literally right next to our room.
It's actually quite interesting. Like, there's like a few catacombs down here, and the way that you walk, it always feels like you suddenly end up on a different level without actually going up or downstairs.
Yeah, it's quite confusing.
It's
this
weird,
place. Like,
like-
it feels like we're in the basement. We are actually ground level. The rest of the event is just actually one floor up.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
It's
Thinking about it.
weird, but because we go downstairs to get here.
Yeah.
It's a very confusing building.
As is, boys, like the infrastructure here, let's disregard that for a second. The draft is on, so we are jumping into draft number 1. It is the first game between SK Gaming and Gamers 2. They played a series yesterday already. As mentioned before, SK got destroyed. This time they start with a ban on Abathur, so let's see if Aragi really did his homework. He was talking a lot about him taking a good look at what exactly Gamers 2 did throughout the entire series that they played then later on. And we have immediate picks and bans. I mean, these two are not kidding around. The ban on Abathur, bam, ban on Uther, going straight for that Illidan. You can already tell that Gamers 2 is basically staying with a system that they used after the first map yesterday, where SK Gaming was able to win with an Uther and Karrigan combo. And after that game, Gamers 2 just banned out Uther in every single game and said, like, yes, no Divine Shield for you. We're just not gonna deal with a Karrigan like on speed with a Divine Shield behind her that makes her invulnerable, so you can do whatever you want, but you're not gonna have this hero.
Yep, and SK sticking with their every single match ban against Gamers 2. Every game they played against them, and most of their opponents, to be fair, people who played against Gamers 2, have gone with this theme of, yeah, we're banning Abathur, because they do not want to deal with Gamers 2's Abathur. It is quite well known. And Gamers2 also quite well known for doing exactly this and first picking Sylvanas.
That's not really a big surprise. First of all, like we talked about Sylvanas being a great hero against Illidan in general, but that's not the only reason why Gamers2 picks her here first. It's also the hero, this is a go-to hero for them. They love to play Sergeant Hammer with that as well, but Sylvanas in all of the games that we've seen from them was one of their priority picks. One of the reasons, that's also true for Malfurion by the way, since we see him coming up here, they are one of the few teams that will play Malfurion in every single situation in the game, no matter what kind of hero composition they play. Most of the teams that they will encounter prefer with Illidan, for example, either an Uther or a Rhaegar. Gamers2, even when they play an Illidan composition, which in this case, of course, is not happening since SK picked him, even with an Illidan, Gamers2 prefers Malfurion. They love the hero and they use him in every single game. So the picks here, no real surprise. SK Gaming with that double pick picks the hammer away, which I already like. It already shows that SK is not only like worried about their own lineup, but they are trying to deny as many of the hero combinations of Gamers2 to the Polish team. And Sergeant Hammer pick here is already a tribute to that.
Yeah, it's very cool to see. It's also one of the older picks for some of the old-fashioned strategies that SK used to do. They used to pick Hammer pretty much every game, used to be run on Bakery. So the fact that they're bringing it back, it's been a while since they brought it in themselves. It's quite cool to see.
Yeah, I like it. It makes a lot of sense from what we've seen so far. I'm really curious what SK has up their sleeves, because Aoragi is known to somehow go for a few, let's say, just creative drafts, or let's just trying to switch it up a bit, and he does that well. We saw that yesterday in the last game that they're playing against Fnatic, when he was also using Arthas, a hero that we hadn't seen for a long time until that point. We've seen every now and then, but it's still quite uncommon. And right now we're having SK with an additional pick, of course, starting to run down that time pool a bit, whereas Gamers2, well, for them, we already know that they could go on Garden of Terror also. Well, we saw a couple of Stitches comes yesterday, but Vala is already picked away. Let's talk about damage a bit first. Illidan, Sergeant Hammer, Vala, a lot of damage already on their lineup. They do not have a utility ban anymore. Sometimes you will see, in addition to one of the right-click damage dealers, also a Tassadar to shield Illidan even more, keep the rest of the team alive. That's not happening there. It's a ton of damage on the side of SK. They still need a healer, still need a tank. A situation that Gamers2 finds himself to a certain extent. They could play the double heal against Illidan, which we see a lot. They still need some more damage on their roster, and they also still need a tank at the front line.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too terrible for them to run the double heal, especially seeing as they could, in theory, pick either the Brightwing as their second healer, which the Polymorph is a great counter to Illidan, or pick the Rhaegar for themselves just to ban it, just to take it away from SK. They are, however, bringing out the Stitches. We've seen a lot of teams bringing him out lately, and they already have the Malfurion, so they're already partway through one of the many possible Stitches into stun comps or into CC comps you can get.
And it's something that we've seen yesterday, and it looked at first a bit like there wasn't a lot of synergy for the team. Oftentimes you look at the heroic abilities and think how you could combine them to really get the most out of it, the most value. But Gamers2 showed that they have exceptional control with this composition, and this is already a very, very interesting setup for them and pretty decent. They are still in a situation where they need a bit more damage, and they have to think about their fifth pick too, which could be, as already mentioned, a second healer with the Brightwing having Polymorph to take Illidan down. There's also, of course, Crit Horizon level 16 then to consider. But Gamers2 running down a time pool. And if you think about damage dealers, a few that jump to mind, Falstad that we've seen a couple of times. Yep. It's also a hero that Gamers2 has played in the past a lot. But they go for Lost Vikings here, which SK encountered nearly every single game against Fnatic yesterday.
Yeah, if you don't ban away, this actually happened with most of the games against Fnatic, if you don't ban either Illidan or the Vikings away, Fnatic will take one of them. So we got into a situation where, in the very last game, in fact, Fnatic banned out Illidan against SK, and SK just banned out the Vikings. And suddenly, Aoragi and Lowell were both in a situation where, oh, we can't play our mains.
Yeah. Well, if you have for SK now, as mentioned, it's probably going to be well, with any other team, I would say it's going to be an ETC. With SK Gaming, I'm never too sure what they're going to do here because you can't really pin that down. But an ETC would be a very good pick for them. We've seen also a lot of Mirrodins being played by SK just recently. Normally, you would expect ETC to come in here just because he's one of the best tanks at this point. In regards to the heal, it makes sense to run it with a Rhaegar since Uther is banned out and you have an Illidan in your composition. But SK is actually waiting quite long here. So they are apparently discussing one of the choices. And the Rhaegar looks pretty straightforward. So
yeah, I mean, you need some kind of very strong healer for your Illidan just to make sure you can get that kind of support. And there is the Rhaegar.
Yeah, now when it comes down to the tank, and with the warrior at the front line, there you have quite a few options.
Yes, ETC makes a lot of sense considering the enemy team is running the Stitches, because ETC is one of the people who you can absolutely hook in and he will still get away. Because you hook him in, he face melts you, and then he power slides out. He's one of the hardest heroes, warrior-wise, to lock down, and it's going to be a Nubarak, though.
They played a Nubarak yesterday,
They
and that leaves them, again, with a composition that has 4 Blood for Bloods.
Yep, they love this Blood for Blood.
It is something that the Russian team plays a lot, and usually they play the same comp, but not with Illidan, but instead with Tyrael. But I actually talked to a few of them, and they mentioned that you can basically use Illidan in the same position as Tyrael. He jumps in, doesn't really have that hardcore initiation that Tyrael has, but it is one of those Blood for Blood moves that can really do a whole lot of work. So with that, Game1 has to be, I feel, a bit careful. They do not have anything to really counter the quadruple Blood for Blood, and I really hope that we're going to see that. There are other options, especially on Rhaegar, but I think now on 16 you have to go for that talent. And Game1 rounded things out with a Zeratul, so it looks a bit old school with hook into root, or like hook into root, Void Prism, trying to lock a target down, annihilate it, the Void Prism as a safety precaution if the rest of the opponent's team is trying to jump in and save the ally, then you can just delay them with the Void Prism. Void Prism is then of course down, but you find yourself in a 4 versus 5, and that is a battle that you should win. So it's pretty old school what we see here with the Zeratul and Stitches together in one team.
Yep, and Zarman is in fact suggesting Snitches. I'm probably assuming that Snitch is going to be the hook target as much as possible, because then we can make puns. But yeah, definitely looking forward to this. Like you said, Stitch's combo, very old-fashioned. It was simply a isolate and destroy, exactly as you said. Countdown has begun. We are getting into the loading screen of game number 1 of the lower bracket final. Winner of this series will go forth to play Team Liquid, and it's going to be between SK and Gamers2.
Yeah, Garden of Terror, our first map now, and the comp's actually already extremely interesting. I kind of like what SK is doing here, the aggression that we originally saw from Team Arthur's, Team Ash, if you want to call them that. I cannot pronounce the Russian name properly. I know that it means like Arthur's builds a temple, but that's where my Russian stops. And they are playing a very aggressive build, and I like that other teams are picking up on that and not only try to counter it, but also copy to a certain extent, which is exactly what SK is doing here. Gamers2, to the left side of the map, is playing with Sylvanas by Nika. We have ADRD on the Lost Vikings, Shihu on Stitches.
Okay.
You saw that,
yeah,
huh?
you did it.
All right, awesome. Leo from Poland on Malfurion. We have Juve on Zeratul. And to the right side is Zarmany on Illidan, Snitch on Sergeant Hammer, Rave, aka Kumatobos on Rhaegar. We have Bakery on Vala, and Araragi on Anubarak.
So, for the moment, battle has begun. We're seeing most of the teams rush mid with quite a few people. We are seeing Olaf being split off to the top lane, and there is no one there for Gamers2 to get the early hook on Rave. Playing far back, and the roaming squad of SK Gaming has already headed down through the bot lane to try and catch someone there.
For Yoba, we see the Cleave talent, so you could go for the Cleave build that we've already been talking about a bit. Usually you don't take the Cleave talent anymore if you go for the standard build on Zeratul, just because people prioritize either the reduced cooldown on Blink or Bulldog. Sometimes you even see the Regeneration Master, which is actually a talent that especially Yuba plays a lot on his Zeratul, but just recently started to move away from that. And Nubarak also in this game, Araragi is already putting his own spin on the hero with the Regeneration Master talent being picked on level 1 instead of the stun that the Russian team prefers when they run a Nubarak. We're having Vala with a multi-shot build again, at least to the start of the game, and of course the sustain build on Stitches.
Yep, Snitch taking a lot of harass early in this game, just going to have to heal that up. ADRD just making sure that Olaf is the one that takes the majority of the harass in the top lane, as he does have that passive that allows him to regen absurdly quick.
Shehu in the bottom lane together with Nika and Leo, still looking for an hook against Sergeant Hammer, but so far the only thing that Snitch is doing is just like playing it cool and collected. Up to the top, Bakery with a kill against Eric, trying to go for Belog and does not get him. Whereas we're having Olaf at the front now taking Brute off the attack. But with the seeds coming into play, the team's already forced into the middle of the map and starting to fight here, with Snitch getting away thanks to his thrusters. But Zarmany is trying to take down Shihu, and he's actually getting really close. They're going to get him. The body blocks lock him down, and there's the first blood for Team SK Gaming.
Yep, and SK very consistent in terms of getting first blood in the majority of their games. Just a question of whether they can keep this damage and aggression up throughout the rest. And Zarmany is found by Yua, and Yua being dropped down. The root goes down, and that catches Zarmany. Yua able to blink out. Oh, Roggy continues to go in, though, but Yua has too much health, and there's no one else near him. Snitch doing some damage to Nika in the background.
Yeah, Malfurion definitely saving Zeratul here, so good job by him. We're having also spin to win now on the Lost Vikings. Oh, the kill against Nuburak there after all, so they went in and took down Araragi, and that leaves us now with Stitches also with level 4 going for the Amplified Healing. We're having Malfurion going straight for the Protective Shield. Zeratul with Gathering Power after all here, and let's see how he's going to play that level 7 talent. We are going to see Cleave, or if it is going to be that first aid, which is pretty much standard, I want to say.
Yeah, if you want to play a more survivable and more sustained Zeratul, which makes a lot more sense on this map as it is so big, you do not want to go B because it takes you ages to get back again, then the first aid is pretty nice because you can just sustain it throughout so many fights. Idiardi looks like he's going to lose Olaf again to Bakery. And Bakery just getting his team little bits of XP up here. It's a pretty nice lane for him. He's having a good time.
Experience-wise, he's really starting to make a bit of a difference, but we're having still Game2 with this absurdly good soaking of XP and trying to zone the opponent out as much as they can, and it starts to show with them establishing a slight lead in EXP, even though in kills they're not really too far ahead. We have 2 kills against 1.5. At the bottom lane, it's just this pressure against the towers, and that of course ends up with additional experience in the hands of Game2. They play very well here. And Snitch, even though he is on Sergeant Hammer, does have very limited moves available to him, how he can push this back. He needs some support down here.
Yeah, and it looks like we are having a couple FPS problems on the stream, but we'll try and get those fixed as we are going from our production. Zarmany does take down another Viking, and SK doing a pretty good job of farming these up.
Yeah, up to the top lane, Araragi and his team are trying to push in with one of the hard camps there. We're having the Bruiser camp going straight for it. Zarmany is there, starting to move away right now. At the bot lane, there's also the attack happening by Game2 against the Garden Terror, getting those seeds in, and they're doing this extremely fast. They will get a lot here, and that puts them very, very close to a Plant Terror on their own. They have on 89 currently. Down to the bot lane, the attempt to take down Snitch, and he pushes them away in the last second.
Yep, so Snitch just going to get siege up behind his fort. We do have a pause quite quickly, so not entirely sure what that is. I'll just remind production that we are having a bit of issue with what looks like FPS stutter, but not on RPCs on the stream, so not sure what is going on there. But not sure what the pause is, and once again I do not have ref, so I do not have the option, but it looks like they are ready.
Yeah, whatever the problem was, players are ready again, so we're already going back into the game, as you can see. And, well, we have Shihu in the mid lane, trying to push that lane back as much as he can. So far, not even any towers like losing ammunition. Sergeant Hammer has finally been killed down to the bot lane. A big dive from Game2, but they lose Balog at the top. Aren't they going to lose? No. They're not going to lose Eric to this.
Yep, the Locust will not be enough. Scarab, sorry, will not be enough to finish that off. Yua pushing in here with Leo from Korea and Nika, going to be able to take down the tower and the fort.
Yeah, both of them already dead. That's a lot of experience that ends up in the hands of Game2 with the lead now. It's going for level 9. They can actually steal this camp away. Rave using his own far side to double check if that's really happening. And with 3 heroes in position, there's of course absolutely no reason why you wouldn't do that. So the Siege Giant camp is about to be taken. They have 3 kills against 2 at this point. The rotations towards the rest of the camps is already underway. And with all of that, we are seeing Game2 playing a very, very solid game here so far.
They are indeed. SK has been doing a lot of roaming around and getting kills, but Game2 been keeping on board. Oh, but no! They were too close to each other, so they body blocked Snitch from getting into that hook trap spot. You need to be careful with your positioning when you do stuff like that.
Another thing that we also have to highlight once more is that SK, of course, is still relying heavily on that level 16 talent, where they are running with that quadruple blood for blood. If they go for that strategy that the Russians popularized, then they can do a lot of damage and just burst down one target when they go into a fight. And it's very likely that we're going to see exactly that. So 16 is one of the talents where Game2 has to be extremely careful with how they approach it.
For now, though, Game2 just catching the level 10s here. We have the standard stuff. Wailing Arrow, Void Prism, the Longboat Raid from the Lost Vikings, Putrid Bar from Stitches, and Tranquility from Malfurion. Level 10 has also been hit by SK, and we already saw Snitch throwing out the Napalm. Metamorphosis for the Illidan. The Ancestral Healing for Rhaegar. Web Blast from a Nubrak, and Valor is just waiting it out.
The Web Blast is an interesting touch because when the Russians, again, they popularized this strategy with a level 16 with the new Burak usually trying to go for Tyrael over Illidan, but it works with both heroes. Oh, good hook against Snitch, and Sergeant Hammer doesn't stand a chance. She goes down. But yeah, when they did that, normally what they do is, if they're going up against an Uther, because they were not able to ban him out, what they try is simply go for Web Blast. They move in, Web Blast Uther, and then they take a target down with the Blood for Blood. If that is not the case, we're going to see normally from them the Lucas Swarm, just to make sure that you can stay alive with that hero, but apparently Araragi values that isolation a lot more. It's 8 seconds that he can web a target, and now the fight is already happening here, and the Heroics coming in, Tranquility being used, Vala going down, the heal against Zarmany, he's alive, Web Blast coming into play, maybe a bit too late for that, but we're having Wraith dropping in in hit points, and he dies. Everybody on the side of Gamers 2 except for Malfurion is still alive and kicking.
Oh,
moving away, but whoa, that last shot by Snitch. This is a crazy fight. 4 kills against 2, and it looks like Zarmany. Can he jump away? He's trying to.
Oh, no, you ain't going anywhere, son. Zichu being able to pick him up.
Ah, you struggle too.
I struggle too. It's like...
Shichu.
It's Shichu or...
Shichu. Okay, that's good.
It's actually very hard.
Shichu.
Shihu?
Yeah, I think so. No,
Isn't it Shiku? Hard to say?
I'm pretty sure it's like Shichu.
Nah, we've already forgotten. We asked them.
No. I didn't forget. I'm
Okay.
very sure.
He's probably remembered. I'm probably struggling to pronounce it.
If it's a hard C, though, that would make it even more difficult, I suppose.
That's easier.
Shiku.
Shiku. That's much easier.
I think it's Shichu.
Yeah, I think you're probably
I think it's a
right.
mix between the two, to be honest with you. Because that would explain why every single time I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, they're coming in and say, like, no, you're doing it wrong.
So I remember him saying it, and I was like, it sounds kind of like Shekel. And we do have someone web blasted here for the start. Down goes the Earthbind Totem, and they are going in. It's Leo from Korea, but he's already out. Adiardi coming in with Baylog. He goes down instantly. And we are seeing Olaf way in the back there. And Ewer also coming in to zone out the rest of SK. Illidan is already down for this fight, so they're not going to be able to do much.
And can Bob land the hook? We're going to see if he's able to get in there.
I'm going to stick with Shiku. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, it's easier for me, and I'd rather say his name slightly wrong than completely butcher it. Okay. I will just practice it.
It's Shiku for me.
All right.
Okay.
One of us is right.
One of us is right. Okay. Exactly. So we have 50%.
Yeah.
I can live with that. That's
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we are going for more seats, and we already have one plant roaming in the map, and that is a plan for the Polish team, for Gamers 2. They're moving to the right side with 14 versus 12. It's like a 2-level lead that they already established here, which is pretty crazy, especially since the plant is starting to take down even more structures, which will increase that gap. We're having now, with the 13 talent, them also in a great position, and Zarmany already taking a lot of hits from Juve's plant. Juve's getting straight for that, and Shiku here maybe with another hook. Can he get that in? He's looking for it, but he seems to... Oh, that creep. Yeah, well, that got in the way.
Yep, Zarmany diving away from the plant, almost into the entire enemy team. He is not going to get volleyboffed here. He was on the edge. Bakery popping his strafe, landing a bit of damage, zoning out the team of Gamers 2. But SK just playing defensive.
Yeah, 15 versus 13, the levels right now. We have already ADRD getting stunned. No, not quite. The stun actually delayed. Araragi moves in, and ADRD moved away with Eric. They get the seats down here. That's actually a tricky spot that we're seeing for SK, because yes, they have a plant now, but they're once again dealing with the plant of their opponents. So it's basically a plant back-to-back for Gamers 2 that we just saw.
Yep, very nice here by Gamers 2. SK now going to try and even up the XP a little with this plant and see if they can hold back one of Gamers 2. But Gamers 2's will be coming out a lot later than SK's, meaning they'll have a lot more duration of it left over. And already half health this plant after the first engagement.
This is really getting difficult for SK. The problem for them really is still that they have to get that level 16, and Gamers 2 is going to be so much faster with that. And once they have 16, they're going to be in a great position to just drop a keep, because they also know that once SK reach the same level and gets their next talent in, that they are going to be just so much more difficult to handle.
Yeah, and we're even seeing the Plant Terror back very far up, going a very roundabout route back to his own base. Just not really doing much. Looks like he may have gone to the top lane to put down a bowl, but I don't know if he got near enough to it. Just taking a very long route to back up, and he gets hooked in anyway. Looks like he's about to get popped out.
Ooh, Yeah, well, he's
Very
getting
close.
away again, so that allows him to throw another polymorph seed in a bit. But for now, we are seeing the plan coming into play for Gamers 2, and they have the 16 talent, with no talent picked yet for the Lost Vikings. It's either going to be the Norse Force, there it is, or the stun on Olaf, which we do not see. It is also Blood for Blood, Fishing Hook, Tenacious Roots, and the Cleave talent on level 16 that we're getting now, or the Rending Cleave. And this time, Gamers 2 is pushing in again.
Yep, they're pushing in. Zarmony making it just as much as he can out of this plant. Gets one more bulb in the last second of that plant, so able to deal with the minion wave pretty nicely here. However, he now needs to assist his team in the defense of this base, and Yua, he has a lot of damage potential inside this plant there as he's going for Rave. Goes in onto Olaf though, and is able to back out before he takes too much damage.
Sylvanas is so great with a push like this, just disabling with the black arrow, the fort, or the key constantly, and they are trying to go for it, and they have the talent, they have the lead in levels, and they are bringing this one down. There's no way for SK to save it. They are losing their first keep in the game. So far they've saved it, but there needs to be another push. I would be like very surprised if that doesn't die, and there it is.
Yep, down it goes to the bulb. And very little SK can do about this, as they're just not able to deal with the sheer amount of siege that we are seeing out of Games 2.
Good position also on the pot here in the back, so every single time one of the SK players tries to attack it, they have to expose themselves and overextend, and that would result in their death. Can't really do that. Ray for a second jumping in and trying to take those plant hit points down, but he's already popping out of it, and now Gamers 2 is moving back immediately.
Yeah, and Gamers 2 doing exactly what we were talking about a couple games ago yesterday, where they are destroying as many of the walls as possible, just to give Stitches as much of a good angle as possible when it comes to hooking.
And they are moving straight to steal the camps away from their opponents. So the map control that they are trying to establish here, first of all, they deny the camps to SK Gaming. They also keep the pressure up at those lanes that allows them to roam down to the bot lane. And also with another 10 seconds until the next night falls, it gives them a lot more space when it comes to the collection of additional seeds. And SK, they are currently on one seed, meaning that even if they take an entire side, like the top of the map, for example, in seeds, it doesn't help them.
Yeah, there's not much they can do about this. They need to get... it's 180 seeds overall for one night, so they need to get a good chunk of these in order to have any chance.
And the problem is that you have those small camps, which are 15 seeds, and then you have 60 on the Big Garden Terror. So far, SK didn't get one, and we're having the top attacked with Zeratul at the bot lane, getting together with Olaf now, the last small seed. They're already at 100. They have 124. They could go for a double plant here. And that's the first problem that SK has. They need to somehow deny that and then try to at least get close to a plan on their own. As down to the top lane, to the right side, we're having now that fort. Again, losing ammunition and also hit points.
Yeah, and if Gamers do take the rest of this part in the bot lane, it will not be enough for a second Terror, but they will absolutely deny one for SK. SK, though, making their way in. Snitch gets hooked, gets stunned by the Golem, silenced out, and he goes down. And now SK can do absolutely nothing to engage. They have to give away the rest of these seeds. And Gamers 2 looking so good at the moment.
SK has finally the 16 talent, was looking for a fight. They have the quadruple blood for blood that they're trying to use now to burst down one target. And at the same time, that hook just like hits home and down goes. They should try to thrust away, but got stunned out. As you can see here, Blood for Blood steals 50% of the target enemy's zero max health away and slows the movement speed. So if you have those 15% of the max health, then that's 60% in total that you just lose in an instant, and doesn't even account for the spells that your opponent can hit you with.
Yeah, and we also have the slow coming in from all of those Blood for Bloods, combined with the Executioner from Sergeant Hammer, is going to be so much damage.
Yeah, and it's going to be extremely easy to drop a target, especially if they're using Web Blast to isolate the healer from the rest of the team and make sure that no hit points really can be regenerated during that time. And moving in already with a plan, that's the big problem that SK is facing right now. Here comes the heal against Aoragi. Down here, Zarmony is starting to jump in. Bakery, Web Blast already being used. They're trying to drop somebody. Vikings are still there. Here comes the jump in. Rave moves back, dies first, and looks like Zarmony is not going to make it either. Illidan dead. They get Stitches, but at what cost?
Yeah, but one kill, well, one in the bit kills you can to Viking for 2, maybe 3 if Bakery can't escape here. Aragi's here to help, but Bakery is able to micro away. Someone bolted, I'm not sure where, but we do have level 20s available for Gamers 2. They are on the core. It is double Bolt of the Storm on Sylvanas and Stitches. And we have the Ragnarok and roll for the Lost Vikings. Down goes Bakery. Our Ruggy's now in retreat. He's been polymorphed. He's been silenced. He goes down. That's a almost full team wipe. Snitch the only one left, but it doesn't matter. He's not going to be. He definitely can't defend it now. And we're going to see Gamers 2 take the first game.
Gamers 2 take the first game of the best of 5 series here, loser bracket final, and yeah, that was actually like quite impressive by Gamers 2. Great play, and they never really got threatened by that quadruple blood for blood because they got so far ahead before it hit, and in the last fight they had a plan fighting for them too. There was just not really a lot that SK could do there. They just got taken out. So very well done by Gamers 2. SK once again behind in the series. They found themselves in this situation several times in the tournament. Against Fnatic, they were able to come back. The next map is going to be Blackheart's Bay.
Yeah, well, currently, they've only won series where they went all the way to the point of almost losing.
Yeah.
So, in theory, if they lose the next match, then they're good to win. In theory, if we're going by tradition. But right now, if Gamers 2 can continue to play like that, it's not looking too likely. But SK... we might have said the same about Fnatic yesterday because Fnatic were playing so well and SK came back from behind for that reverse sweep. Really cool to see. Let's see if they can repeat the performance today.
Yeah, we're going to jump into a short break, boys, and then we're going to be back with Blackheart's Bay, our second map here at the PGL Champion of the Storm Tournament at DreamHack Bucharest. So guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few.